Hallo miteinander, I'm Geschichte6 and this is the jitteriest title logo I have ever seen belonging to Yuuma Game. It's a quaint little piece of freeware where you obviously play as Minecraft Steve. I mean Yuma Totetsu, the legendary Taoti, a creature so evil and hideous, Zun actually gave her visible fangs. But there in her little corner, she looks so darling sweet and friendly. We got devoured into the game. You get eaten every time you start this up. Despite getting caught by a sort of jump scare, the cutscene artwork is indeed incredibly adorable. Not just for Yuma, everyone we meet will be. I can reveal that much. When I first stumbled upon footage of this on YouTube, I was hooked on sight and had to try it out for myself. So far, this seems like a typical top-down adventure game. We move around with keyboard controls, yet are recording a mouse cursor. This was not by accident, you'll see. The first NPC is a generic bunny, and our quest is to find our favorite cartoonishly oversized spork. They call it a spoon, but Yuma has always had a spork. The bunny isn't exactly an adversary to our cause, but since we are a horrendous, flesh-eating monstrosity, we do battle to make our dinner. On the left is the standard vertically scrolling Danmaku battlefield you'd expect of Toho. But what's the box on the right? That is our stomach and also where the mouse comes in. Any bullets we suck up on the left can be puzzled into our own attacks on the right. Basically, we're playing two very asymmetrical genres of games at the same time, and this tutorial encounter was to get used to the kind of multitasking this entails. The loser bunny should by all means be discarded by natural selection, yet a convenient reason to spare it comes up in the mention of the trouble-making pile of poop named Tay. That's the game's words, not mine. The writing here can often be a little juvenile and crass, but I don't think it hurts the picture as a whole. The whole picture being that Yuuma Game does not take itself even remotely seriously. New opponents by the names of Benui and Booney await on the next screen, but you know what I like to do for our review format. We're going to jump cut to the parts that I think you'll enjoy the most. We've warped a handful of encounters ahead so that we can look at the upgrade mechanic. Beating a Toho character in battle usually nets you an upgrade coin, which you can spend at the Eagle. It's not just any eagle, it's specifically called the Eagle. Also, Yuuma Game exclusively speaks of Toho characters as funny girls, probably to be as memey as possible. Look over there, it's the funny girl everyone knows. There are 5 stats to invest in. I usually max out attack power the earliest, but we are choosing Suck, just because its symbol is the most amusing. A very artistically reduced Yuma inhaling the air. You cannot absorb harmful bullets indefinitely. You have to take breaks to recover suckage energy, which that stat increases. The next battle I wanted to show you is against Mistia Lorelei. Just like with the bunny, this conversation quickly turns sour. If you only expected our opponents to progressively get stronger, now you learn that Yuuma Game is heavy on gimmicks. The Night Sparrow is concealed by a shroud of darkness. Shots we produce will not target her. Luckily, sight-improving grilled lampreys occasionally appear. They look like little brown turds. You can tell this game's tone is rubbing off on me. If ingested and clicked on the puzzle field, Mistia is revealed and stays visible for a couple of seconds. Before she can be properly damaged though, her shield of strength level 4 must first be destroyed. To take it down temporarily, 4 identical puzzle pieces must be popped in one move. A good strategy here is to fill up your stomach as much as possible and only then use up a lamprey. After that, you click as many combinations as you can in a short time frame. To have a lot of worthwhile puzzle moves, it helps to suck up the same type of bullet repeatedly and simply ignore others. An exception to this are the heart-shaped bullets, as they don't deal damage, instead they heal your own hit points upon removal. They're also special in that they don't have to be sucked to be harmless, you're free to just collect them. Our health is displayed in the lower left. A little further right is our suckage energy, regenerative on its own, and the gems under the stomach screen are our puzzle moves, also regenerative, existing so that you don't spam combinations with quantity over quality. Mistia has surrendered, so we'll be stuffing ourselves with some fresh poultry. Except Yuuma finds another excuse. Turns out Mistia has been devoured in the past, and experience says she tastes like feces. She's no fairy, so I have no idea how she returned from death. Perhaps she's just missing chunks. Coming up as one of my favorite moments of this game, what do you eat, Mistia? Bug. Only bug. So, this interpretation of the Night Sparrow demon hates her own cooking, huh? Early this year, I finally got around to playing Mistia's Izakaya, and that game's version of her could not be more passionate about the culinary arts. A chef with heart and soul. Peculiar that these are such polar opposites. That's just about what I wanted to show you in this segment. We're moving on to about the second third of the game. So far, we were granted battles upon asking for them. Sometimes though, you have to work for the right to challenge. Enter Alice, whose sprite looks like she's wearing a pair of cool shades. They're not in the artwork though, so I might just be mistaking big dark googly eyes for them. The magician tasked us with finding her house keys. It's a side quest so negligible, you'll probably have them when you discover Alice. In fact, I specifically ignored them until the recording, just so I could prove there was a side quest. The other funny girls in the vicinity are either friendly or have already been beaten on this file. We're back at Alice's, taking care to trample on the flower pattern arranged to spell her name. Notice that she always tries to speak as ominous and philosophically deep as possible. I guess she's still 14, at least in spirit. The fight that's about to ensue is not actually a fight per se. We're manufacturing dolls for Alice and handing them to customers according to their orders. The screen is sporadically turning into negative colors. That's because a little past Mistia, you'll earn the stopwatch power-up. Stopping time is extremely helpful for reducing the stress of multitasking 2 types of gameplay. But once again, there are limits. The time stop has a regenerative counter, and it will eventually deactivate if you think too calmly for too long. Compared to what we've seen so far, Alice's labor challenge is easily the most gimmicky encounter. You'd think this doll construction minigame would come and go while being mildly amusing. Truth is, it's brutal. For where she is placed in the game, Alice is an unusually harsh difficulty spike. You only have 15 seconds to fulfill a request. When it hits 0, the damage is unavoidable. Worse yet, hearts are completely absent from the field. It's not like everything until this was smooth sailing. Reimu, for example, is quite tough until you understand the rules of her fight, but Alice? I can't underestimate her even to this day. There's something else that's extraordinary. We started this challenge with only 3 of our 5 hit points. This might either be a disadvantageous glitch, or it's intended that your stats, the RPG elements, are not meant to help you here. As this goes on, requests arrive more and more frequently. It's a struggle not to be overwhelmed. We are close to the finish, but also on our last hit point, and we have a request due in 5 seconds that we practically cannot satisfy anymore. We prevail by the skin of Yuma's bestial teeth. Only some opponents are mandatory to fight for progression. Alice, to my knowledge, is completely optional, so long as you don't mind missing an upgrade coin. I simply have to admire the artwork again. It's so adorable how the characters bounce and squeeze together as they talk. I think I've seen this style before. I'm not sure, but it might be WarioWare that has this kind of motion. What else do you have to say, Alice? I no longer require your labor. As such, you no longer exist in my eyes. I see she's well on her way to a top-level executive. Our next warp brings us to the Snow Zone. There's a special boss here that can only be fought if everyone else in the area was defeated first. That includes Sanae, who guards the entrance to the underworld. Some backtracking is therefore necessary. This bunny gives us a clue as to who the bonus boss is, and would tutorialize us on a special upgrade we get once we've bested Yomu. The ghostly gardener has in fact been canonically confirmed to be a rather short lass. Leave it to Yuuma Game to shrink her down further to a freaking goblin. The different shapes and sizes the funny girls come in do amuse me. We're going to have an epic gamer duel to the death. Motherfucker. Come on, Yomu. Was that really necessary? Anyway, this fight is more straightforward than most, but still no easy pickings. The many bladed bullets we're seeing cannot be sucked up, they hurt aplenty and must be dodged. Yomu has a shield on her without a number. What we must first do is deal around 500 damage to the ghost half, then grab the piece it drops. That can remove the shield temporarily, making the encounter somewhat similar to Mystia's. Just like back then, it's a smart strategy to fill up your stomach before releasing the phantom half shot. Apart from the typical colored puzzle pieces, we are now seeing a new one, bombs. Whenever you click those, they blow up other pieces in a radius around them, making new room in the stomach, while also dealing significant damage to bosses. They're pretty great, and I do like using bombs, yet there are 2 downsides to them. Not only might you destroy potentially worthwhile combinations through them, but clusters of bombs have diminishing returns to their strength. If possible, try to click them in singles or when you've already cleaned the board. There's also another type of bullet Yomu produces, and it's a sort of shuriken with a red shine. Those are spike pieces, and they're all bad news. They hurt Yuuma upon munching them, and on top are instantly digested, so they don't even produce any ammunition for you. In and right out the back door, I suppose. It was apparently Marissa who invented the spikes, and then gifted countless numbers of them to our potential opponents. Thanks but no thanks, you thieving witch. You might be wondering how it's determined where new blocks fall onto the puzzle field. Neither is it completely random, nor can you fully control this. If you suck up several bullets in bulk or in a short time frame, the pieces are likely to drop down into the same columns. Taking a break or collecting only sporadic single blocks will likely scatter them to different corners of Yuma's stomach. This loose principle is why I like to fly up to and meet Youma's spread out shot pattern and flow along it. Now that we've crushed her, the swordswoman should be in awe of our skills. Conversing with her now, I'm noticing something remarkable. Yuuma has been a real shit talker to most funny girls, but with Youmu, she has not gotten in a single line. The gardener has somehow made this a total monologue. She must be the kind of person who loves the sound of her own voice. We're going to have one last jump cut today, bringing us to the already alluded underworld. I wanted the last member of our showcase to be as different as possible from tiny puny Youmu, so here's a whole lot of woman, 100% organic beef Urumi. Yuuma exclusively calls her the cow, not just a cow, but the. It really speaks to Urumi's kind and patient demeanor that she seems to take no offense to that. We take on a fish collecting fetch quest for her. On the way to and fro, I wanted to mention the music of this game. It's catchy enough, but interesting in another regard. It's NES chiptunes alright, but not on the level you'd hear in prestigious titles by Nintendo, Capcom or Konami. It's also not as jamming as Tim Follin tracks that always deserve to be in better games than they were. No, Yuuma Game sounds like the poopier, mid-level NES games, and I think that fits beautifully. Yuuma Game absolutely showed that it's competent in gameplay, but with crude writing like "I caught a fucking fish," there is a certain freeware crappiness that it embraces and revels in. Derpy, unremarkable music goes much better with that than instrumentation that tries too hard. Thanks to Yuma's disrespect, another battle is about to start. Urumi's encounter is not actually too difficult for how late you get to it, and has a gimmick so mild in presence, you might just win without ever really understanding it. First of all, two new special bullets are being created by the River Ogress: Feathers and Rocks. Feathers spawn plentifully, but are rather weak when fired back. Rocks, on the other hand, pack a punch, but are much rarer. Urumi has a shield with an impressive value of 5, and feathers are the best tools for breaking it down. There's also a hidden trait to these new bullets, or rather, the resulting blocks, I should say. If Yuuma has too many rocks in her stomach, she'll slow down drastically, and that'll be a problem. If the feathers are the majority though, you'll speed up instead. Not bad in itself, but if you know Danmaku, there is that point where lightning fast is too fast. Keeping a good balance between the two types of blocks is well worth it. Another danger coming from Urumi is that you might get distracted by the mesmerizing dangling of her stank legs. That of course might be a weakness only I have and you don't. This battle is indeed far from the most remarkable of Yuuma Game. I still felt like I had to show it to you because I like the cow, and she has never made it into one of my videos before, if you don't count name dropping. She and Clucking Kutaka are my favorite additions of Toho 17. It's funny that they're the barnyard duo. Pure coincidence, of course. There's something else that's special about Yuuma Game. Nowadays, I mostly look on Steam for Toho games. Yuuma Game, however, is exclusive to itch.io. Until a while ago, I didn't even know there were Toho fan games on there. Apparently, they have to be freeware, as the old rule is that if Zun hasn't sold on a platform himself, or hasn't given express permission for one, Fanworks can't charge. If it's truly free though, devs can use whatever means they want to get a game to their folks, naturally. I haven't mentioned who the developer in this case even is. They go by Woah Maaan. That's more of an exclamation than what someone should be called, but I guess even that can be an internet screen name. They have contributed to at least one Toho game jam, also on itch.io. The submission was Patchy's Pizza. I haven't played it yet, but I can tell you it looks as cute as this. Urumi has been unspectacularly defeated in the meantime. She and Yuuma actually end their quarrel on much better terms than they started. How nice! Too bad the fish we brought her is full of parasites. But with that, I think you now have an adequate impression of Yuuma Game. Very humble in its scope, but absolutely worthwhile, and even more so if you like gutter humor and crazy memes. I'm Geshidi6, this was Yuuma Game. Urumi says moo, and I say bis bald. Be careful not to be eaten by Yuuma on the way out. Whoops, too late I guess.